Another day happens, another day passes. You could be happy, you could be sad. Life is a coin flip. Did I do a good moist critical? That was perfect, you have to admit. Anyway, Concord has been shut down, and the studio who made it has been Aegitus Deletus Fetus. That's a Harry Potter spell if you did not know.
Life is full of surprises. You might walk down the street and find a $20 bill. You might walk down the street and get hit by lightning. There is always things that you can never really expect. Except for what I'm about to talk about today. Firewalk Studios,
Yeah. I nailed that moist critical intro, okay?
the developer behind Concord, is officially shut down. This also
Applause? Rapid applause? Cheers, boys? That's good.
shuts down the rumor, that conspiracy that was starting to bubble up about Concord getting a second wind because they were getting Steam updates in the back end. There were daily updates to Concord that you could see in the logs, even though the game had been shut down for a while. So there was speculation from gamers that they might be working on it to try and breathe some new life into it, and maybe it'd be like a Morbius situation where they bring it back only for it to catastrophically fail again. Clearly that wasn't the case.
The Morbius situation, if you do not know, is pretty much this. Morbius came out, absolutely flopped. One of the most, if not the most, hated Marvel thing in literally the past, 5 years or something. Okay? Did not make any money. But people memed on it a lot, okay? And then some kind of other movie, I don't remember which one came out, and people were like, give Morbius a second chance, and everyone was memeing, and Disney actually did it. They released Morbius in cinemas again for some reason, en masse. And it made even less money than they expected, and they did not expect to get anything. They literally fell for a meme. It's hilarious.
They weren't exactly cooking up the new Manhattan Project behind the scenes for Concord's revival. I still don't know what they were doing on the back end. I think it was probably like when you have a flood and you go in and take pictures of the damage for the sake of insurance. That's probably what they were doing, because this was such a financial disaster, the likes of which humanity has never seen before. So they were probably doing something like taking the code in order to lock it up in some kind of tomb, never to be touched again, because of how awful it was. I have no clue. But clearly it wasn't for the sake of bringing the game back, because it's never coming back. It is officially dead in the dirt, never to see the light of day again. And now
they probably did think about reviving it to a degree. They probably thought, wait a minute, we can salvage the situation by making it free to play. And then someone was like, well, the game was free to play for the start, for the testing, and we got a whopping 2K players, which is complete trash. And then they were like, oh, okay, maybe let's just not.
Now the developer behind it has been shut down. I think
Good.
Everyone knew this day was coming because of how much money Concord lost. A historic flop like this.
400 million, probably with a plus sign at the end.
Flop doesn't even do it justice. There doesn't exist a word in the human language that can describe just how horribly this game fumbled.
The Eternals.
It is unbelievable.
Dragon Age Railguard. Man, Dragon Age Railguard is... All of the budget went into literally creating dialogue options for if you're trans and you want to come out as trans. What a time to be alive.
Just like me participating in a try not to come challenge while listening to a Sleep Token song, it failed in a big way. So I'm pretty sure most people knew Firewalk Studios was going to get chopped here. And now the day has come. They
literally gaslit Sony into buying them for an extraordinary amount of money by saying that, oh, this is the next GTA Online, okay? This is the next step of gaming. It's gonna destroy con and whatnot. That's unironically what Sony bought into. Hilarious.
But Firewalk wasn't buried alone. In fact, they got company into the great beyond. Another studio Sony announced they're shutting down is Neon Koi, which is a studio I've never heard of. It sounds like a fucking Yu-Gi-Oh card, but apparently it was a mobile game developer that was working on an unannounced AAA live service action game. My guess is the failure of Concord put the fear of God in Sony, that they took a hard look at some other work that was going on with studios under their blanket, and they said, this one might not.
No, you think that, but Sony definitely did not learn anything, okay? Sony 100% has not learned anything from it because they are trudging along and strong.
Not be up to snuff. This might not be the special sauce what the doctor ordered, so we're just going to pull the plug. That's what it seems to me. I don't know the studio or their previous work, so who's really to say? All I do know is that they did make a statement on why they shut down Firewalk, and it's pretty much exactly what you expect. Regarding Firewalk, as announced in early September, certain aspects of Concord were exceptional, but others did not land with enough players, and as a
What part of Concord was exceptional? I'm pretty sure people did not like anything about it. The maps were generic and boring, the movement was bad, the shooting was bad, the characters were atrocious, the skill system was dumb. Okay? The only good thing they arguably had in the game was the fact that people could farm some trophies by just committing suicide at the start of the map by jumping off of it, and that was the only good thing about the design.
result, we took the game offline. Yeah, it's just gobbledygook right there. There's nothing exceptional about Concord. It was as generic as it gets, and somehow it just did the formula worse than everything else in the genre, and yet they had the gall to charge $40 for it. There wasn't anything
How much Railguard costs? Probably more than 40.
exceptional at any point in that game. If they truly believe that, then they're delusional, and I do think they really believe that because they invested so heavily in Concord. They went hog wild, dumping doubloons into it for no reason. SpongeBob must have snuck into the headquarters with the Orb of Confusion because these people were fucking lost when they made this decision to go this crazy with Concord. Sony acquired Firewalk in April of 2023 and shut them down in October of 2024. A fucking piece of provolone cheese lasts longer in your refrigerator than Firewalk did under Sony's umbrella. I don't know what they saw in the first place that made them want to buy this studio.
They got completely duped into this. Again, this is no over exaggeration. Firewalk legitimately thought that Concord is gonna be the next big thing. They thought that this is gonna destroy Overwatch, kill COD, and every other game pretty much. That they are working on the next big thing. That people are gonna write songs and make videos about their genius, how they created Concord, the next biggest thing since sliced bread, okay? They unironically thought that. We covered this. Concord internally had extreme beyond reasonable toxic woke positivity. If anyone even mentioned that there's anything negative about the game, they pretty much got axed instantaneously. There was no such thing as anything in Concord is bad. There was the only acceptable positions were Concord is the next big thing or you're out, buckaroo. That was it. And it was insane. And Sony bought into this somehow. Sony somehow looked at Concord and all the absolute brain damaged individuals working on that game and said, 400 million, let's go, baby. And yeah, that's kind of the end of the story. They come. Man, if ever the true small details come out why Sony did what they did and bought the studio that made Concord and whatnot, that's gonna be probably the most jaw-dropping thing released in years.
Like, I don't know. I really, truly don't understand what they saw with Concord. I don't know. They must have been living in a different dimension, an alternate timeline that fucking crossed over like Berenstein versus Berenstain and sandwiched it together. Because what they saw with Concord is not what any sane human being on the planet saw. So I don't understand why this ever even happened in the first place. This was the most preventable financial disaster of all time. We have spent considerable time these past few months exploring all our options. After much thought, we have determined the best path forward is to permanently sunset the game and close the studio. I want to thank all of Firewalk for their craftsmanship, creative spirit, and dedication. The PvP first-person shooter genre is a competitive space that's
also, Concord themselves put out a statement on Twitter. Oh, this I think is it. I didn't read it fully because it was dumb. It's like when Dustborn was... Dustborn, a game that was played by a whopping 70 people peak, okay? Oh, this one's not doing good. Here's a letter to all of our fans. Bro, what fans? You got probably like maybe 5 fans of this game, okay? And they're all mentally ill.
Continuously evolving, and unfortunately, we did not hit our targets with this title. We will take the lessons learned from Concord and continue to advance our live service capabilities to deliver future growth in this area. You bumbling morons, the lesson you should take from this is to leave the area. No one wants another generic first person hero shooter. Nobody is asking for that. No one wants more live service hero shooters, period. That's the lesson. You don't want to try and figure out how to compete in the hero.
Well, to be fair, the hero shooter market is as barren as it comes, honestly. What do you have? You have Overwatch, and now you're gonna have Marvel Rivals. That's it. That's literally it. If there is a market that you want to go into, it's probably to a degree that kind of hero shooters, because there's not a lot of competition, and most people just play Overwatch casually, so technically getting those people on your side should not be that hard if you make a good enough game. But, well, Concord was not nearly good enough to take even a single player away from Overwatch.
Hero shooter space because it's not a space anyone wants anything in anymore. It's oversaturated, it's dull, bland, lame. People are over it. Instead, put those resources towards something else. Anything else. Christ. Now, according to Bloomberg, this shutdown will affect 210 jobs,
Oh
which is
no.
a lot.
Oh
And I've said this from the
no.
very beginning. I don't blame the individual developers at Firewalk for the
I do, because I know what happened. I know that they're all insane.
disaster that was Concord. I think the biggest issue was the leadership that was coming up with terrible ideas in a terrible direction and then putting the developers on the project. Concord should have never even been a project that got greenlit. That's something that should have went into the think tank and got laughed out of the fucking room and shut down with an iron fist, because it's a terrible idea from a conceptual standpoint, from a design standpoint, from everything standpoint. You know, even from a sitting point, everything in Concord was horrible on paper. It should have never even made it past the brain of whoever unfortunately was cursed with that idea. That should have been lobotomized out of there. It is just bad. And it's not like the employees at Firewalk have a say on what projects they get handed to work on. It's their job to do that. So that's what they were tasked with. And I don't think many of them are just going to stand up and say, enough is enough. I will not work on a garbage, generic, bland hero shooter. I'm going to go take my talents to Ubisoft and code some extra beads of sweat on the newest siege operator's nutsack. You won't see me again.
Oh boy. I mean, that's equally a bad decision. Ubisoft also is going to see a lot of change when Assassin's Creed comes out. Okay, listen. Dragon Age Railguard is obviously woke garbage, but we knew it's going to be woke garbage. But as Dragon Age Railguard is currently getting destroyed, and no one's buying that piece of garbage. Okay, no one cares about it. The people currently that care most about Railguard is people like me who just want to laugh at its absolute incoherent mess of a jumble shitstorm that it is, and that's it. And in Ubisoft, dude, Belgard honestly has not did not receive that many eyes as Assassin's Creed Shadows. When Shadows drops, oh boy, it's gonna be good. Also, Indiana Jones, the Woke Circle, or Secret of the Woke Circle, or whatever it was called. We're getting first impressions of that bad boy, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great, boys. It's gonna be such a mess.
Like, they have a job that is a competitive field, and they were tasked with making fucking Concord, which must have been an awful feeling for a lot of them, I imagine. I just don't personally blame each individual soul that worked on Concord for how boring, bad, bland, shitty the game was. I think all of its problems start from higher level positions that had all of that influence over the direction, the design, and all of that shit for the game, and then they task their employees with deliverables on it. I imagine a large number of people at Firewalk weren't exactly thrilled to be working on a project as uninspired and
They were. They unironically were. Again, he doesn't know any of this. They were. They were super excited. All of them that was stuck around for making Concord, all of them thought that they're making the next big thing.
Generic and bland as Concord. Pretty much anyone who has ever played a game in their life will probably not find anything to enjoy about Concord because it is just a worse version, like a bootleg version of every hero shooter that's ever come before it, but this time for $40 price tag instead of being free. Now, Firewalk themselves did give a little sign-off message saying Firewalk began with the idea of bringing the joy of multiplayer to a larger audience. Like, this isn't 2002 anymore. Like, I don't exactly know what they mean by that.
To a larger audience of 600 people.
Multiplayer games are the most popular games on the planet. Like, take for example Fortnite, which has been a cultural phenomenon for so many years now. It's not like multiplayer is this unheard of obscure thing. I don't know what larger audience they thought they were going to attract with a generic $40 hero shooter. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, that just sounds like PR speak with absolutely nothing behind it. Just a hollow sentence with no real meaning. That's like a statement my grandmother would have made when she was talking about gaming, because she still just believed gaming was only like Pac-Man on an arcade cabinet. Like, I can't just not harp on this sentence. The joy of multiplayer to a larger audience. What in tarnation? It already has like the largest audience on the planet. The only thing more popular than multiplayer gaming is maybe like getting the common cold. Like, there are so few.
Yeah, that probably is a little bit more common.
Things that have reached this many people. I don't know what this statement is even trying to say. It's ridiculous. Along the way, we assembled an incredible team who are able to navigate growing a new startup into a team during a global pandemic. Firewalk was founded in 2018 and was very small for its first couple of years, only entering full production in 2022. Build a new, customized, next-generation FPS engine in Unreal 4 to 5, delivering top-tier gameplay, feel, beautiful worlds, and a performance 60 FPS technical experience on a stable and scalable backend on PS5 and PC to hundreds of thousands of players in our beta.
I'm sorry, what did you say? Hundreds of thousands of players in your beta? Your beta peaked at 2.3k or something like that. Stop lying.
I like how they threw in our beta, because everyone was about to call fucking baloney on that. That was about to be a Phoenix Wright objection moment right there. I don't know the player count during the beta, but it's not like the game was good then either, so I'm assuming everyone that played the beta, the hundreds of thousands, realized that this was not going to be worth time and money, and which is why it had such a fucking disastrous launch. I also don't know what top-tier gameplay feel they're talking about, because playing Concord felt like nails on a chalkboard because of how mind-numbingly boring and samey it was to every other game in the genre, except slowed down to a fucking crawl. It was a glacial speed. Everything set to like a 0.5 speed. It was miserable in terms of the speed of the game, so it was not a top-tier gameplay feel. Unless you like the feeling of walking around with poop in your shorts, because that's how every character controlled. Manage an acquisition, integration while readying technical and preliminary tests, and ultimately ship and deliver a great FPS experience to players, even if it launched much more narrowly than hoped against a heavily consolidated market. We took some risks along the way.
Oh man, this is like excuse after excuse after excuse. They're lying to themselves more here than honestly the people reading this. Millions and billions of players in the beta loved us. A consolidated market where everyone's making fun of Overwatch for being crap and being the only hero shooter that's currently out there on the market. Sure, buddy.
Marrying aspects of card battlers and fighting games with first-person shooters, and although some of these and other aspects of the IP didn't land as we hoped, the idea of putting new things into the world is critical to pushing the medium forward. The talent at Firewalk and the level of individual craft is truly world-class, and teams with Sony Interactive Entertainment and across the industry will be fortunate to work with them. Please reach out to recruiting at PlayStation for inquiries, and thank you.
Oh yeah, by the way, this is the big takeaway. I didn't talk about this, but yeah, when a studio gets shut down, it's talent, because there's no talent in Firewalk, they don't just get fired. They technically are fired. All the people at Firewalk were fired, but they literally just got a new job in probably a different game under Sony. That's the reality what happens here. When a company shuts down and it's like gaming and it's associated with something bigger, the talent that they have just gets put in another game and whatnot. So the people who made the people who made Concord are still here, baby. That's right, they're still here. They are still actively ruining our games. Probably already now they are thinking, oh my god, how can I put a fat fucking Michael Jackson black chick in this game and make it more gay? They probably are unironically already doing their next big thing like that in some other game that potentially could have been better. But, that's just how the industry goes. Anyway, this was Charlie Chaplin, I guess. Have a nice day. Bye bye.